Good evening, everybody. We're so happy to have you here. Our first Monday night Hangout on Air and the last Hangout on Air for 2014. Athena and I were looking at our library of video content that we have as a result of doing these Hangout on Airs, and we've done 20 hours of videos. And it's just amazing that we've done that much. It feels like we've just kind of barely started, but we're so excited that you're here. And if you're seeing this for the first time and you're not watching it live, we appreciate you watching the video. We hope that you found it on YouTube or maybe Google+. Perhaps you're watching us on Roku TV. However you've arrived to this point, we're just delighted that you've made it here. This is our Google Hangout for adult survivors of child sexual abuse. I'm Bobby Parrish. I'm a trauma recovery coach and a therapist. And my business partner, Athena Moberg, who will be along just shortly, is a trauma recovery coach. Both of us are survivors. We spent many years in abusive homes when we were children, and we are both in recovery. And I'm sure those of you who are survivors know and understand that recovery is not something that comes easily, nor is it something that comes quickly, especially if you have a significant history of abuse. But we're working on it, and we've done a lot of the hard work. We still have issues that we have to tackle. We don't by any means want to say that we're all the way through. But we've come enough of the way through that we feel like we can gather together the information we've learned and pass it along to all of you so that your recovery maybe isn't as lengthy or as hard as ours has been. So a couple of announcements. Trauma Recovery University is going to officially launch in January of 2015. So everything that you have access so far through the No More Shame Project is now we're rebranding into Trauma Recovery University. And the reason we're doing this is because you have told us over and over and over again how important education about trauma recovery is to you. And Athena and I can't stress that any more than we do. Both of us in our own recovery didn't receive a lot of education about trauma recovery. People didn't tell us what we could expect or what we could do to make things smoother, what we could do to make things faster. It was more of a situation of we showed up to do our therapy, our therapist told us what we needed to do, and we did it. But Athena and I both strongly believe that your recovery is under your power. You are an expert at you, and only you know exactly what you need. Now, that doesn't mean you don't need professional help, but you know what kind of help you need, and we're going to give you the education that you need so you can pick the right kind of provider and you can get the right kind of help that suits your individual recovery issues and recovery goals. So that's why we're rebranding into Trauma Recovery University. We're going to start offering a lot more courses and webinars that you can tap into so that you can learn more about specific parts of trauma recovery. We're going to especially start talking a little bit more about the trauma recovery model so you can identify where you are, and then we're going to tell you, okay, if you're here, if you're in the denial stage, these are the things you need to do to get unstuck from there and move over to recovery. Or if you're in the chaos stage where you're still consumed by the trauma and it's still a large part of your day, and perhaps you're numbing through an alcohol addiction or a drug addiction or a pornography addiction or spending, we're going to help you get unstuck. We're going to provide you with the tools you need to move from chaos into recovery. And then as you move into recovery, we're going to focus on what are the steps that you can go through, A, B, C, D, E, F, to get through recovery and move yourself on to the next stage, which is reclamation. So that's our whole goal, is to give you the education you need to empower you to take control of your recovery. I know that most of you probably didn't have a lot of power when you were children. When you were being abused, We don't have any power. That power was taken from us, and our boundaries were crossed in horrible ways. But the reality is that that's done, and now you do have power, and you can be in charge of your recovery process. Nobody needs to be handed those keys to your car. You have them. And so that's why we're rebranding to Trauma Recovery University. And we're also going to be launching multiple podcasts. We'll give you updates on those. Athena's going to do one about high potential, how you can move from your lowest point to your highest point, and different steps and strategies to make that possible for you. I'm going to do a trauma recovery coach podcast, which will be information for helping professionals, church staff, volunteers, school employees, so they know what it's like to be trauma informed in their daily life, and how can they help survivors as they encounter them. What can they expect? What can they do? How can they help? And then we're going to have Trauma Recovery University is going to do a 60-minute podcast every week. And we're also going to have a radio show. We have an awesome opportunity to work with 1412 Radio to have a new half-hour show every week on their network. And although you might be watching us on Roku TV, we actually, at the time of this taping, we haven't gone live yet. Our channel is under review by Roku TV, and as soon as we get permission to publish, we will be up and live on Roku TV and uploading a minimum of a new 1-hour episode every week. So if this is how you're seeing us, I'm so excited that you're here. Please come back and make connections with us on traumarecoveryuniversity.com. There you can sign up for our email list so you can get all the updates, and you can also see more of our library of what we've done. We've published a book. We have a whole resource library of downloadables. Every time that we have a Google Hangout on air, we take that topic and we put it into one piece of information, one sheet. And Athena makes it beautiful with her design skills, and it is on the website. There's a tab you'll see up at the top that says downloadables, and every one of our Google Hangouts on air has a one sheet of condensed information that will tell you exactly what the night was about and how you can take actionable steps today to solve some of your issues in that category. So say, for example, you want to look at the Hangout on Air that we did about healthy boundaries. If you go look on the Downloadables tab on Trauma Recovery University, you'll see a whole listing of all the download subjects. Click on the one that says healthy boundaries, and it will bring up a page, and it's going to talk about what are boundaries. What kind of boundaries can we set? How do we set boundaries? How do we enforce our boundaries and maintain our boundaries? So that's exactly what we hope to do for you, is give you tangible, actionable steps that will facilitate your recovery now. Because I know that for many of us, when we're in the midst of recovery, it's very painful. And someone might say to us, oh, it'll get better, it'll get better. But that's not really helpful. What we want to know is, how am I going to get better now? How am I going to feel better tonight, today, in this moment? And although I can't tell you that if you go read the one page that we wrote for tonight on setting healthy recovery goals, that you're going to be all healed by tomorrow, I can tell you that you can take some steps tonight, today, while you're listening to this, while you're looking up the information, that will help you set the path for feeling better tomorrow. So let's see, what else do I have to tell you? Oh, don't forget that in June, we're going to have a couple of conferences. So if you want to come and meet us in person, interact with us in person, we're going to be doing some different teachings and workshops at each conference. The first one, which is the beginning of June, is going to be in Atlanta, Georgia. And the second one is going to be in late June, the last weekend of June, and that will be in a little town called Raymond, Washington. There's a wonderful retreat center there, and it's about 2 hours south of Portland, and about 2 hours south of Seattle, and 2 hours north of Portland. So right there in the middle. So please look forward to spending that time with us. We would love to see you, and we hope that you get a chance to connect with us then. So tonight we're talking about recovery goals. And although we're talking about it at the beginning of 2015, it's not the same thing as a New Year's resolution. New Year's resolutions have such um, a stigma attached to them, and I'll use that word even though it kind of has a misnomer to it too. We set these resolutions at the beginning of the year, and they're these huge things that we're going to do, and then by the beginning of February, we have failed, and we feel awful, and we give up for the rest of the year until the end of December comes around again. That's not what this is about. These are recovery goals, which means that they're not a resolution, they're a goal, and we're going to practice setting recovery goals tonight. Hi, Athena.
Hi, beautiful. Sorry I'm late.
No, that's okay. We've talked about all the new things that we're going to have for 2015, why we're shifting over to Trauma Recovery University, the podcasts, and the classes and courses we're going to offer, the radio show, Roku TV.
You covered everything. Oh, my God.
Yeah. And I was just starting to define recovery goals and talk about the difference between New Year's resolutions and recovery goals.
Awesome. Well,
Yes.
I'm so happy to be here. Thanks for doing all of our public service announcements while I finished everything up over here.
Yes.
And I just wanted to say Happy New Year to each and every survivor. If, in fact, you are getting ready to celebrate New Year, if you're watching us live, it says here we have viewers. So you're getting ready to celebrate New Year's, and I just wanted to say Happy New Year to you, to each and every one of you. And I don't know, Bobby, I'm just really grateful. I know that we talk quite often about just how grateful we are for 2014 and how we got a chance to collaborate and become business partners and do what it is that we love for a living. So
yes.
Just a moment of gratitude for that, and I'm sure we can just jump right back on into content. I did not mean to interrupt your flow.
No. I told everyone you were coming, and I was talking about how we were talking earlier today and how amazing it is to us that we have 20 hours of videos.
Oh my gosh,
already,
yeah.
To offer to people. And I can remember being in the middle of a really, really hard recovery spots, and the nights were horrific. I mean, those were just, curled up in a corner of my bedroom, just sobbing and waiting for daylight to come. And I think how wonderful it would have been if during those times, I mean, I don't know that YouTube was even around then. I hate to date myself, but I don't know. It would have been
I did not have YouTube videos when I started recovery. I mean, I'm sure YouTube was around, but I was not savvy enough. I was not really very adept in social media or online.
Well, this would have
anything that works online or anything.
90 or 91. So I don't know, but I think of how wonderful it would have been if I had had a resource to tap into and know that I wasn't alone, rather than, just sitting there feeling like the one horrible person in the whole wide world.
I know. Isn't it funny how we talk about this quite often, about how a lot of survivors think the same things and think the same ways, and we oftentimes think that it's just us. Or I know the first time I ever heard somebody talk about the word trigger or what a trigger was, I thought, oh my goodness, that's not just me. I'm not the only person that gets triggered by things. That's the word that I'm looking for. Okay. And I just instantly felt like I wasn't alone. And I know that's such a rudimentary term now that we've been, studying recovery for so many years and coaching. And I know you've been a therapist for a while, but when all of a sudden we realize that there's an entire book or an entire TV program or an entire class or an entire section of the library or Barnes & Noble or the internet that's all for this one specific thing that we've been carrying around with us for years and years and years, that we have so much shame about, there's just such a freedom that happens in that. So
Yes,
um,
absolutely.
just so
It.
grateful. I'm grateful that we get to do this now for everyone.
So do I. I'm very grateful too. Um, let's talk a little bit more about what a recovery goal is. And I'll
Okay.
bring up the one page here in just a minute. But
Okay.
I think recovery goals are something that, as Athena and I talk about a lot with a lot of things in recovery, a recovery goal is not one and done. So you don't, okay, I'm going to see a therapist tomorrow. I'm going to sit down, I'm going to write out my goals for my whole recovery.
Yeah.
Usually not.
it, no, because if you bite off more than you can chew, oh my gosh, you guys, beautifuls. We keep telling you all the time about setting yourself up for success. And if you bite off more than you can chew, it's the opposite of setting yourself up for success, because then you feel like a failure whether you know it or not. And it just piles or adds on to your shame pile, your bad
Right,
pile instead of your good
right,
pile.
right.
So,
And we've talked about that vicious cycle before. And
yeah.
if you're listening to us on a podcast, you can't see Athena and I talking with our hands. So if you want to, go to the YouTube channel or go onto the website or go to Roku TV, and you can see us illustrating our points with our hands. So I'm making a little circle right now with my finger because there's so much in trauma recovery that is cyclical. And one of the
It
things
is.
is we feel badly because we can't do everything we want to do. So we set goals that are too high, and then we fail. So now we even feel worse than we did before, and our shame is greater. So we set another goal, and it's an ugly, vicious circle. So
Yeah.
yes, set yourself
And
up for success.
and in addition to that, Bobby, I wanted to just touch a little bit on the core belief restructuring that we have been discussing a lot lately.
Yes.
And whether or not you listeners and viewers know it or not, shame is a powerful motivator that has been used on us our entire lives, whether we come from a healthy background or a dysfunctional background or an abusive background. Shame has been used as a motivator. Shame is used as a motivator in widespread media and broadcast media, television, magazines. Um, Anytime you see a headline or something that says, "Don't you wish you could do this? Haven't you done this already? Don't you wish you had this? Don't you wish your body looked like that? Don't
Right.
do
Yes.
that. Put the cookie down." All those things are, there's very subtle ways of using shame as a motivator. And that's just the way that generationally people have communicated. Um, just like in our parents' or our grandparents' days, they use the word stupid a lot, or they use the word shut up a lot. And, when you're called stupid or you're told to shut up quite often growing up, as our parents and grandparents were, you tend to sort of hide and play small, and you don't really live out to your fullest potential, which is why a lot of generationally, why our parents and grandparents have, they find one job, they're really good at their job, they stay at their job, they retire from their job, and then that's it. Because it's dangerous to sort of go out and try new things, because you could be told to shut up, or you could be told that you're stupid, or that you don't know enough, or et cetera, et cetera. Shame is used as a motivator quite often, just throughout all different facets of our lives. So when we're telling you to set yourself up for success, we're not telling you to use shame as a motivator. We're actually opening up this broad spectrum of ideas for you of like how you can use positive reinforcement in your recovery, because if you're in recovery, you need positive reinforcement. You don't need more shame.
Exactly. Exactly. And I think that same, um, I see the same name calling and comparisons in terms of things that happened to us when we were little. Um,
Yeah,
and I talk to people about how I try very hard not to have shame be a basis for the way I parent my son.
yeah.
People look at me and they're like, I don't even know what that means. And I said, well, I don't say to him things like, wow, that boy is really good at that. Why can't you be good like that? And when he comes home with a test score, I don't say, and what did everyone else get? How did you do in comparison to everyone else? um, you know, that it's not about comparing him to anyone else, and it's not about using shame as a reason to change his behavior.
You want to
And
know
yet,
something that's super
huh?
interesting? Oh, I didn't, go ahead, Bobby, finish. I'm so
No,
sorry.
I was just going to say that's that was what we got as children, except on steroids. you know,
Oh,
the
yeah.
shame that we got when we were kids. I mean, if my father had only said, why can't you be like more like so and so, I'd be in a whole different ball game than I am now. But it's still an example of what I
Yeah.
think, we see all over.
And I know that this is going to come as a little bit of a shock to some of you, but I'm 41 years old, and I actually recently had a family member come to Hawaii to visit, and at our church and at several different functions around the island, just normal functions, like if you just go to the mall to pick up something or if you go to church or whatever, there's often hula dancing. It's just a common thing here in Hawaii. It's just like learning how to stand up paddleboard or surf or swim or snorkel. You can learn how to hula. Well, this family member of mine, the first thing they said to me when they came to Hawaii, one of the first things they said when they saw someone doing hula was, well, you should be doing something like that. Why aren't you doing that? You should be up there. What's wrong with you? How come you haven't learned how to do that yet? And there was something else that you said a moment ago, Bobby, and you said something like, well, what does everybody else, so what does so-and-so think? What does so-and-so think about you doing that? I would even up to, again, I'm 41 years old, and up until about a month ago, I was being asked questions like that by my family member, one specific family member, over and over and over and over again, each and every time we would talk on the telephone or Skype or anything. And it would shred me. It would shred my self-confidence and my self-esteem, and it would take away every ounce of accomplishment that I thought that I had um, achieved, because all of a sudden I had to ask, oh, well, I wonder what everybody else is thinking about me doing that. I wonder why I haven't done that yet. I wonder, well, I don't know if everybody else, I don't know what they think about me doing this, but I'm doing it, and I know that I'm doing good things, and I know that I'm supposed to be doing this, and I'm helping a lot of people. And rather than saying, wow, good job, like, you're doing a wonderful job, you're helping a lot of people, I'm so proud of you, it's, well, what does so-and-so think of you doing that? What does your husband think of you doing that? What do your friends at the radio station think about you doing that? What do your friends at church think about you doing that? Bop, 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 bop. Oh my gosh. I know I'm all up in your face right now in the video, but I just need you to know how annoying it was. And I am proud to say and thankful to say that I got the courage to assert and maintain a healthy boundary with this particular family member, so this is no longer happening. I no longer have to hear those things on a daily or weekly basis, which is why, ta-da, I'm showing up in the world completely different, and I'm reaching more people, and I have more confidence, and I'm actually able to set realistic goals for myself and reach them. So there's a little success story for you that's present time, like literally right now. It's just
But
happening like a month ago.
Athena, I really do think that if you learned to hula dance during our Google Hangouts, it would make them better.
You think? What about if I wore one of those coconut bras? One of those little coconut bras and the little hula skirt? I'm just saying, we can add to the show, Bobby. We can add to the show.
The commentary that your relative made is so ludicrous to me. You know, you reach hundreds of people every week with a message of hope and healing, and yet she thinks your life and your time is better spent learning to hula. Not that learning to hula is not a wonderful skill, but I think that if we had a choice between what I would rather you spend your time on, I'm voting for helping survivors rather than learning to hula. So
I asked my husband the other day, I said, do I bless you? Do I bless you? And he goes, you do bless me. And you bless thousands and millions of people all over the world. You help so many people. And I thought, oh, I just need to hear that. I don't know how to hula. Okay. Wow. Sidebar. Sorry.
Yes.
But
that's okay.
This is literally just happening. This is real life, people. You can't make this stuff up.
Now, And Athena and I have spent hours and hours and hours with one another. We definitely know um, how to tease the other person without it looking like, Um, okay, let me find.
Okay, we have a beautiful new one page with all of our beautiful branding.
Yes. Now, Bobby just has to find it. There it is. Let's take a look at this.
Okay.
Can you see it?
I can definitely see it. Maybe you should press that little button in the control panel that says present to all so that when I
Ah,
talk or clear my voice, then I don't take it off of the screen for everyone.
absolutely. Present to everyone.
You're awesome.
There we
Thank you.
go. Okay, so setting recovery goals. And we talked about, this is basically what we talked about earlier while Athena, but just before Athena joined us, that even though right now we're talking about ringing in the new year with recovery goals, that does not mean that you can't set recovery goals any time of year. This just so happens to be the time that we thought it would be great to talk about it. And
Yes.
again, even though you were powerless as a child, and I know you were powerless, even though there may be people who every day say to you, well, why didn't you tell? Why didn't you do this? Why didn't you do that? We know
If you
you
would have
were
told me, I would
powerless.
have done something about it. If you would have said
Yeah,
something.
yeah, right. But you know what? No one, neither of us are going to judge you. And that's not what we're here to do. And we're here to tell you we get it. There are a million and one reasons why we don't tell when we're children. And anybody who thinks that it is simple and easily done the other way doesn't understand the intricacies and the complexities of childhood sexual abuse. So we get that, and we understand that right now you have power. And your recovery, as it says, your recovery is yours to manage. No one knows what you need better than you. You're your own expert. Um, and I think I've talked before about this, but when I was in my late 20s, early 30s, and going through the worst part of my recovery, and I was in and out of psychiatric wards, had a suicide attempt, just really very, very ill. And my therapist helped me get into a specialized psychiatric unit for people recovering from childhood sexual abuse. And that was the first time anyone had ever treated me as a valuable part of my treatment and decision-making team. That was the first time that I ever had someone sit down next to me and say, okay, what do you think we need to work on? How can we help you? Let's work on what we can here in this, and I was there for 10 days. And then what can we do to set up a plan for you when you leave so you're supported the way you need to? And that was the most empowering thing in the world. It was the first time that I wasn't treated like a nuisance or a bother or as someone who was weak of character because they had a mental illness, or what's the matter with you? Do you mean that sitting down and playing charades with a bunch of other adults for an hour doesn't heal you? Um, and that's what we want for you. We want you to recognize yourself as the most powerful part of your treatment team because you are an expert on you. You might bring in a therapist whose expertise is therapy, but they're not an expert on you and what you need. You're that expert.
Yeah.
So there we go. I ramble on. I get off my soapbox here now.
No, it is such an integral part of our healing, though, honestly, Bobby, for us to actually own the fact that even though we don't know how to communicate our needs and we don't know how to own our own recovery, we don't know how to stand up for ourselves and make healthy choices for ourselves, to read it here in black and white and almost get permission
There
from
you
you and
go.
I, who are trauma recovery coaches. I'm willing to bet that someone out there right now that's watching or listening um, needed to hear that. They needed to hear that we're giving them absolute total control and permission to take control of their own recovery. And I don't think
Right.
a lot of people ever hear those words. So if you never hear it again, folks, then you can put us on repeat. And we're going to
That's right.
continue to tell you over and over that your recovery is yours. There is no cookie cutter recovery that is good for every person in the whole wide world.
Right.
Some people need therapy. Some people choose to go to a psychiatrist. Some people need medication. Some people don't. Some people love the coaching modality, which is why those are the people that Bobby and I work with, who really enjoy being in the driver's seat of their recovery and allowing us the privilege of sitting in the passenger seat and guiding you on your way through the recovery model so that you can live out your life with intention and purpose and reach your highest potential. So there's my soapbox.
There you go.
We're gonna move down onto the one sheet. And if you're tuning in on a podcast and you're wondering where this one page is, you can go to traumarecoveryuniversity.com and you can click on the button or the little tab up at the top that says downloadables, and you'll be given instant access to our entire library of complimentary resources just as a thank you for being a loyal listener or watcher or subscriber or just awesome survivor, because you're awesome.
That's right.
And we're right in the middle of the one page where it says the best recovery goals are specific.
Absolutely. And that's what helps us about that, is that it's easy to know whether we're meeting the goal or not. When you say, I will sleep more, which I always want to encourage you to do, because sleep is essential. Your brain needs sleep in order to heal. And also sleep, an adequate amount of sleep, helps stave off depression, and it also can help you manage your PTSD. Now, if you're incredibly depressed and you're already sleeping 16 or 17 hours a day, that's another matter. But if you are running on empty and getting only maybe 5 hours a night, it is a good recovery goal to say I will sleep more, but let's make it measurable and specific. So instead of saying I will sleep more, say I will go to bed by 10 p.m. each night, or I will get 7 hours of sleep each night. Something specific, because, like I like to put it, vague goals lead to vague action. And we don't want vague action. We want specific.
Vague results. They lead
That's
to
right.
vague results.
Yes, yes,
We
yes.
want clear, measurable results. We want to be able to go, oh my gosh, look at the progress I've made in my life. Look at the progress I've made in my recovery. It's one of my husband's favorite things in the whole wide world to talk with me about. He'll say something like, wow, look at how far you've come. Look at
Yes.
look at all the wonderful goals you reached in your recovery, and you have such victory in certain different areas of your recovery. I'm so proud of you. So, definitely write down on the bottom, we'll talk about writing your goals down, but be specific in your goals so that they can be measurable.
Right, so, and they can be attainable.
Yes.
And then, like we talked about earlier, set yourself up for success with small goals. I understand that maybe your goal, your eventual down the line goal, might be journaling for 30 minutes a day. But if you start out with that goal, going from not journaling at all to journaling 30 minutes a day might be overwhelming, and that might be setting yourself up for failure. So start small. It doesn't mean that eventually you won't get to journaling half an hour a day. But if you start off with, I will journal 10 minutes a day, then you're going to feel that success. And that success is going to motivate you to have another success and another success. Whereas, like we talked about earlier, if you set yourself up to not do well, then you'll feel like a failure and you'll feel that shame, and that will set you up to feel more shame, and that will set you up to feel more shame. And again, it cycles back into that vicious downward spiral. Instead, what we want to put you in is in an upward spiral.
Absolutely.
Where your success motivates you to make greater success.
Yes.
So it's okay to know what's your eventual goal, but we really want to encourage you to break it down into bite-sized pieces when especially if you're first starting out.
Yeah.
I'm going to move this up just a bit. So you also want to make your goals varied. So don't focus just on one aspect of your recovery. And I know this might sound overwhelming to you right now, but again, Athena and I are all about laying our cards on the table. We want you to know what is involved in recovery. And recovery has a whole bunch of different separate elements. There's emotional, there's physical, there's behavior, spiritual disciplines, relationships. Did I already say relationships? Um,
No, you're good. This is
and
awesome.
those are all pieces of your recovery. And you have to tackle each one that you have issues in. Like, say, for example, behaviors. I am an emotional eater. I will eat when I'm upset, and it is something that I really would like to tackle. So that's something that's in my behavior category. But in my emotional health would be when someone who I have elevated into a position of authority says something to me that is perhaps a criticism, even if it's constructive, I immediately go into shade mode. And so I want to learn how to not do that. I want to learn how to listen to what they have to say and probably not elevate them into position of authority in the first place, but listen to what they have to say and evaluate it in my mind calmly and rationally and either accept it or let it go without it triggering my shame. So we need to set goals in every category, not necessarily in every, but in different categories. So set maybe,
Yeah.
4 at a time and pick one in different categories, depending on perhaps where you might be having the most difficulty right now.
I have a really good example of this,
Oh, I love
Bobby.
it.
And we can just go ahead and keep that one page up there. That's totally fine. I'm just going to talk and refer to the one page here. So if you look right in the middle of the page, right underneath where it says set yourself up for success, and right above where it says here are some examples. So the area that Bobby's been talking about has been the list where it says focus on every aspect of recovery. Now, we want you to know that on any given day, your best or your 100% looks different. So, for instance, I have a very, very, very dear friend of mine who is a health and fitness coach. Now, she is phenomenal. She's encouraging, she's great. She always invites me to her events that she has, whether it's a booty camp or a workout or whatever it is that she has going on. Well, I have been struggling a lot with my thoughts. I have these invading thoughts, as Sarah Fader was talking about yesterday, Bobby. Those invading thoughts,
Yes,
those
those intrusive thoughts. Yes.
intrusive thoughts. So rather than me focusing on my physical self on one particular day, I chose to go to a ladies' Bible study that I was super excited about. It was called Battlefield of the Mind by
Oh,
Joyce Meyer. And it's all about taking our thoughts captive so that we don't let our thoughts rule our life. And so I had to respond to my very well meaning, amazing, and wonderful, beautiful, and awesome health and fitness coach and say, my spiritual health right now is my priority. I'm really wanting to focus on my thought life, and so I have to turn down your invitation for this round of classes that you're holding at your house. But I really appreciate the invitation, but my focus on my recovery right now is on my spiritual and my thought life and not my physical. Not that I want to neglect my physical health whatsoever, because obviously it's a balance, but I knew that if I got plugged into this lady's study called Battlefield of the Mind, that I would really struggle a lot less with these intrusive thoughts. And so that was a healthy boundary. It was a healthy decision on my part that I made during my recovery.
right.
And we suggest that you make healthy choices like that also. So that was just a very real life example of like what what making a healthy choice might look like if you had to make a choice in,
Exactly. And we
for
have
your
to
recovery.
do that because, like you said, our best on any given day can vary. And
Yes.
sometimes, today I only have enough energy to tackle one goal. I've got 4, but I can only do one today. And so I'm going to
Yeah.
focus on the one that needs the most attention. And that's okay. Um,
Yeah, and it's okay to reach for help. That's the next little section that we're going to go
Yes,
over right
yes, yes,
now.
yes.
Tapping into your support team for their help in setting your goals. You know, that's what Bobby and I are here for. Hopefully you belong to one of our private secret Facebook groups. If not, please send us a Facebook message or tweet us or email us. But Bobby, why don't you expand or expound upon the section on the one sheet here that is talking about tapping into their support system?
Well, you know, this, and I know we've talked about it tonight already, but I'm going to say it again. You are the expert on your recovery. And so when I say setting recovery goals and you say to me, but doesn't my therapist have treatment goals for me? Or doesn't my psychiatrist have treatment goals for me? Yeah, they probably do. But it's okay for you to still set your own recovery goals because remember, you're the expert on you. Your therapist is an expert on therapy. And chances are, if you're seeing a psychiatrist, not many psychiatrists do therapy anymore. Usually they just do medication monitoring. So your psychiatrist is an expert on medication. And you are hiring these individuals to help you because of their expertise. That doesn't change the fact that you are the expert on you. So certainly ask for input. They're part of your support team. But it's okay to grasp that by the hand and say, this is mine, and I'm going to set my own recovery goals. You certainly don't want to set a recovery goal that's going to conflict with something that your psychiatrist or your therapist might say. For example, with psychotropic medication, your psychiatrist will usually tell you, don't stop taking it all of a sudden. Don't stop taking it without talking to me. Because when you immediately and abruptly come off a psychotropic medication, it can cause withdrawal symptoms. So you don't want to set a goal for yourself. Okay, I'm going to stop taking my medication in February. That's my goal. That's not a good goal because you're doing something that's in direct conflict with your psychiatrist who's an expert about medication.
Yeah.
But other than that, that's what all these people are there. They're there to help you. You have hired them to help you. And I know that's a paradigm shift for a lot of people, but that is the reality. You have hired these people as experts to help you. That's it. They don't have more power than that in your life. So you're the expert. These are the people you've hired. Get their input, absolutely. But you're still the one that's in control and power over your own recovery. So there I go on my soapbox again.
I like your soapbox.
I have many soapboxes tonight, you guys. Okay, so here's some examples of excellent recovery goals. I will attend one therapy coaching session. Oh, I will attend therapy coaching sessions once a week. Okay?
Yeah, and we don't want to confuse you with therapy and coaching. So therapy is when you are seeing a therapist or a counselor. If you're seeing a psychiatrist, that's when you have your medications that are being monitored. And if you're seeing a coach, it's because you have specific goals or you are at the stage of your recovery where we're moving forward, you're in the driver's seat, and we are cheering you on every step of the way, walking through your recovery step by step by your side.
Yes, and I'm not sure, Athena, do you have the information up on your website of the difference between therapy and coaching?
You know what? I believe I do. I can't remember what tab I have it under, but I know it's on your website for sure.
Right, it is on my website. So if you go to my website, bobbyparish.com, there's a tab there, and you'll see that I talk about what is the difference between therapy and coaching. So if you're concerned about what they might be, that's where I would point you, is to take a look at that. And at some point, that might not be a bad topic for us to do a hangout about.
I think that would be a good idea.
Yeah, because there are differences. And different things are going to appeal to different people, and therapy is really good when you're in a particular part of your recovery, and coaching is really good when you're a particular part of your recovery. So it depends on where you are.
The two are not mutually exclusive of one another.
No, absolutely not.
For instance, I am a coach, and I love not only participating in trauma recovery coaching, but I also really enjoy facilitating and leading trauma recovery coaching. However, I also do EMDR, which is a form of therapy.
Yes.
So
Yes.
um, if you want us to break some things down for you a little bit further, feel free to direct message us or send us an email. We're going to put up our contact information here shortly, which we will be sure to read out loud since you might be listening on a podcast.
Yes. Okay, another good recovery goal, and this would fall into the physical self category. I will walk on my treadmill 1 hour a day, 3 days a week. Now, if you're not already walking on your treadmill, then, and this is your first goal that you're going to set in terms of getting some physical exercise, I would recommend you say, I will walk on my treadmill 10 minutes a day, 3 days a week, because that will set you up for success. And I know that maybe your response is, well, what's 10 minutes a day going to get me? You know what 10 minutes a day is going to get you? Success.
Yes,
And you're going to
and you're going to have
raise it.
you're going to have a sense of accomplishment.
That's right.
And
And you know
yeah.
what? Some days 10 minutes is the most we can do. And that's okay. Some days the fact that you got out of bed and you changed out of your pajamas into regular clothes are going to be all you can do. And that's okay. There's no shame in that. Um, Childhood abuse can be devastating and debilitating to the nth degree. And you're never going to hear any judgment from either one of us on what you can and you can't do each day.
No, I want to touch on that for 2 seconds, Bobby, just as we're
Absolutely.
heading down towards the bottom of our one page. If you'd like to find our complimentary downloadable resource, which is our gift to you for being a loyal subscriber, watcher, or listener, or just awesome survivor, you can go to traumarecoveryuniversity.com and click on the tab that says Downloadables, and you'll be given instant access to our entire library of downloadable resources that will help you in your trauma recovery. Bobby, I wanted to mention to you
Uh-huh.
about some days it's a win to just make it out of bed.
Yep.
And I really, really, really need to stress something to everyone right now. And that is the longer you wait to acknowledge and deal with the traumatic effects of your childhood abuse, whether it was emotional, physical, verbal, sexual, you name it, any type of abuse. There are so many different types of abuse. We have another Google Hangout that we did talking about the abuse cycle where we mentioned lots of different types of abuse.
Right, right.
But we really, 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 really want to let you know that we personally have been working very, very, very hard on our junk for a long, long time. That is why we are fully functioning. I am here to tell you that I have family members, loved ones, friends, people that I consider to be very dear friends of mine. They have never acknowledged their childhood abuse. They sweep it under the rug, they deny it ever existed, they minimize the abuse, saying that other people had it worse. They say that they don't want to be an angry person, so they would rather forgive, and so they just skip over the whole processing of the abuse that they incurred. And I have seen with my own two eyes the debilitating effects of someone who has not addressed their trauma. And it is so painful to watch. These loving people, these people that could very well be active members of society with lots to offer other people, are literally handicapped and debilitated to the point where they have no social skills. They are socially inept. They don't leave their home. They become extremely agoraphobic. They can't get out of bed. Their body starts to break down physically. They hear legions of voices in their mind, voices over voices over voices. They have suicidal thoughts. They eat when they're not hungry. They don't eat when they are hungry. They are on drugs and alcohol. They're overspending. They have video game addiction, pornography addiction, all because they never took the time to address the effects of their childhood abuse, because they were told that that was not something that you would quote unquote air to the world. You don't air your dirty laundry. That was in the past. Press onward. Leave what's in the past and press onward. And we are here to tell you that that is probably the most toxic, damaging, mentally and emotionally debilitating things you could ever, ever, ever do. If you want to get into a good community of people that will listen to you, not judge you, and that are all on different paths of their recovery and different stages of their recovery, please private message us, please email, please reach out, please tweet us. Please do not hide anymore and reach out. I don't care if you're 50, 60, 70 years old. 80 years old. Doesn't matter how old you are. If you suffered traumatic childhood abuse of any kind whatsoever and you've not reached out and you've allowed it to just be this secret, this thing that you put behind you and you think you're totally fine, but you really feel like maybe this is a time to reach out, please don't hesitate to reach out to us because you're the reason why we do what we do. You are why we are here. So I just had to say that, Bobby. I know we're running short on time, but I
That's
just had a
okay.
feeling I just need people to know how debilitating it can be.
It can. It absolutely can. And I know you and I have both had periods in our life where that has been our reality.
Yeah, and I have
And
family members right now as we're
yeah,
speaking. Like literally, I know people that are completely socially inept. They have no social skills. They don't even have any friends, not one friend, because they don't know how to function in society because they have stuffed their pain. And it's just heartbreaking for me. It's
it
so
is.
heartbreaking because I can't do it for them. I
Right.
can't recover for them. I
No,
can't do anything for them. I
no.
can't even help them because they say things to me like, how are you so calm? How are you the way that you are? I don't understand how you deal with everything. That's just because you're you. I could never do that. And it's not true. You can heal, but you have to do the hard work. So we can move along to our one page here. We're on the topic of set examples of excellent recovery goals.
Yep.
And rather than isolating, when I feel sad, I will call one of my friends and tell him or her how I am feeling. That touches on what I just shared with you guys.
Yes,
Really reach
exactly.
out. Reach out to someone.
Because it is, and even if even if you just call them and chat and you don't say, I'm feeling really sad, sometimes just that making social contact with someone who you know cares about you is enough. Now, if they're safe, if they're really a safe person, please do, yes. But if you can't reach any of your safe people and you just want to make a social connection, there's still power in that. So I don't
Yeah.
want to discourage you from reaching out if you don't have many safe people in your life or the safe people you do have aren't available. Still reach out. There's
Yeah.
power in connection.
Absolutely. And we have tons of groups that you could be involved in. So, I mean, I can think of 3 or 4 different groups right now, right off the top of my head, that would be um, welcome and open to receiving you and just loving on you and listening to what you had to say.
Yes, and letting you know you're not alone. Woo.
Yeah.
Every day I will tell my spouse one thing I need from them that day, and I will ask them to tell me one thing they need from me. As survivors, wow, asking for what you need is really hard because chances are if we ever did it when we were a child, we were either immediately smacked upside the head or told that we couldn't have needs or ignored, neglected. So stating a need,
Or we were told that our needs would be met, and then they
yeah,
never were, and we were
yep,
waiting around and waiting around if we
right,
were hungry or if we were thirsty or if we needed to be safe from something, or and then we were told that we were ungrateful if we weren't,
yeah,
if we weren't
yeah,
satisfied with the pathetic way
right,
that they met our needs. We were ungrateful.
right. Woof. Okay, so last example. I will set healthy boundaries with one toxic person each month. That's a hard one too, but boy, is that important. And Athena talked earlier today in this Google Hangout about how much better she feels now since she set a healthy boundary with that family member who was undermining and shredding her self-confidence every time that she talked to her, belittling her, condescending. And that is the power of setting a goal like this, because when you remove those people from your life, like Athena said, you show up differently in the world.
And we always say this every week. As you show up differently in the world starts responding differently to you. You
That's
start
right.
attracting healthy people. You attract people that are no longer abusive and unhelpful and unsupportive and rude and unkind. And you stop attracting people that are just belittling you and making you feel like you're a horrible person. So,
Which you are not.
which you are not.
No. Okay, so really quick right now, I'm going to present to you the beautiful illustration that Athena has made for us on how you can interact with us. And we have 2 Twitter chats every week. On Monday, the hashtag is CSAQT. That's Child Sexual Abuse Question Time. That's at 10 a.m. Pacific Time in the USA and 6 p.m. Greenwich Mean Time in the UK. And then we have a Tuesday Twitter chat, and the hashtag for that is Sex Abuse Chat. It's at 6 p.m. Pacific Time, 9 p.m. Eastern Time, or 2 a.m. Greenwich Mean Time for the UK. And then we have the Google Hangout that we're doing right now.
Oh,
We
it
have it as
says it's
Tuesdays.
on. I have it on as Tuesdays. What I meant is that it was Tuesdays at 2 o'clock in the morning, Greenwich Mean Time for the
Yes,
UK, but
right.
6 p.m., 9 p.m. Eastern on Mondays. So I'll go
Yes,
ahead and update that and get you a new copy, Bobby.
absolutely. And we do have a significant UK following, so we do try and include all of you on everything that we do, because that's
Yeah.
important. Um,
And we have a new Bitly link if you guys wanted to take a little peek at that. You can watch us every single week or on the replays 24/7, 365 by logging on and just typing in bit.ly/trauma recovery U. That is our new Bitly
oh,
link.
I love it. And here's our last graphic, and this is again is a beautiful graphic that Athena put on how to reach out to us, how to make contact with us. At Twitter, I am Truth is Hers. Athena is Athena Moberg. And then we have Trauma Recovery U. So Trauma Recovery U, that's our Twitter handle for the joint coaching and education business that Athena and I have. If you want to contact us by email, you can contact me at bobbylparish@gmail.com, and Athena is Athena at athenamoberg.com. If you want to look for us on our websites, I'm at bobbyparish.com, Athena is at athenamoberg.com, and then we are both, along with our courses and education, the downloadables, everything, is at traumarecoveryuniversity.com. And on Facebook, if you want to look there, Athena has put the different Facebook, so if you do
Yeah, like it's
facebook.com,
like facebook.com
yes,
forward
backslash,
slash
forward slash, which one is
forward
it?
slash
Okay,
Trauma Recovery University. Maybe it is a backslash. And then, or facebook.com forward slash Bobby dot Parish, or facebook.com forward slash Athena Moberg fan page. Or if you'd like to friend me, I'm very friendly. You can friend me at Dawn Athena Moberg. That's my full name, Dawn Athena. So, yeah, we're really excited to just have all these different channels of ways to reach you.
yep.
I had my very dear friend and podcast genius, John, just email me and remind me that I did not turn in the intros and outros to our podcast. So you're going to be able to find us on Spreaker, iTunes, iHeartRadio, SoundCloud, Stitcher, all those different podcast directories, including our Roku TV channel, coming up very, very soon.
Yes.
And Bobby, gosh, I always feel like I'm forgetting something. The only thing that I didn't mention is to reach out and get in touch with us regarding our 2 live events coming up
Yes.
in June,
We
June 5th
talked
through the
about
7th, or the 25th through the 27th.
yes. I told them where Raymond, Washington was and that the first one was going to be in Atlanta.
Yeah, Atlanta, Georgia, June 5th through the 7th. So
Yes.
if you're listening in a year that is not 2014 or 2015, and you're listening to this quite a bit down the road, it'll usually be the first weekend in June in Atlanta, Georgia, and the last weekend in June um, in in the Pacific Northwest. Hopefully,
Yep.
always at the same retreat center there because
Yes.
it's just
Yes.
beautiful.
It
But
is.
we
It
just
is
love you
truly the name
guys.
retreat. We love you.
What?
And I said it's truly it represents the name retreat.
Oh
The
yeah,
retreat.
definitely.
It's beautiful. Um,
Well, you
so
guys are the reason we do this. We love you guys. You guys are amazing, and you're brave and courageous, and we're grateful that you're here.
yes. So reach out to us. Connect with one of us if you're ready. Join one of our Twitter chats, or just come and show up and watch the Twitter stream go by. I know that you'll be encouraged just by watching the way that people connect. They are the most amazing people, supportive and encouraging with one another. And that is such a powerful force to have in your life. So we really encourage you to check those things out. And we will be back here next Monday night, same time, on our new time, not Wednesday nights anymore, on Monday nights. So until then,
Yeah.
I
Happy
think
New Year.
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year. We are so happy that we got to meet you this year. And we hope that we see you next week or that you'll participate in one of our Twitter chats. Just
Yes.
use the hashtag to participate. Or you know what I should do, Bobby? I'll go ahead and I'll include our Storify
Oh,
address
there you
for
go.
that. Yeah, that way they can, if you're not a Twitter chat person but you'd like to read all the tweets, you can subscribe to us or follow us on Storify and you can read all of the wonderful things that we get to do with survivors.
Yes, that's great.
All
Okay,
right.
good night, and we'll see you in 2015.
Sounds great. Aloha,
Okay.
everybody. We love you.